So much for being a part of our study in Deuteronomy. We're looking at Moses reminding the people of God about the Ten Commandments. And so the second of the Ten Commandments is, you shall not make for yourself an idol, whether in the form of anything that's in heaven above, or that's on earth beneath, or that which is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the iniquity of parents to the third and fourth generation of those who reject me, but showing steadfast love to the thousandth generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. But we said yesterday that the Ten Commandments are out of love from God, and they're intended to keep us in a love relationship with Him. And later we're going to see in the Ten Commandments, they keep us in a love relationship with one another. So let's talk about idols. And Rudy, you were talking to me while I was getting a sip of coffee a moment ago about an idol that you had sort of your attention drawn to. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, if you would, if that fits?
Well, it does fit. This morning, as I was just reading these passages, hoping the Lord would show me something that was important for the conversation that we're having today, which I do all the time, because I know that He does kind of put bold print on certain words, and then really my job is to find out the definition or the root word or the passage that it arose out of. But Baal Peor was...
All right, let's spell this out.
B-A-A-L
P-E-O-R?
P-E-O-R.
Okay. So that was a major idol that the people of God dealt with.
Right, and Balaam was a purveyor of Baal Peor.
He was a sort of like I don't want to call him a prophet, but he was sort of
he was a prophet, because he did get to see and told people what he saw, but really this was a sexual kind of idol.
Right.
And but to be truthful about it, when we read Isaiah 14, God is telling Isaiah about a conversation that happened between him and Satan, actually, or a consequence of something that the Lord saw in Satan's spirit. And he said that he would become the master of the north, Baal Zephon. And it's not the north country, it's north, it's up. It's that he would ascend to God's throne, that he could be just like God Almighty. How does this relate to the second commandment? It relates to the second commandment in that we become the idol. And if you haven't noticed that in yourself yet, you're in for a surprise of how deep it goes. And it's because of free will. That's something we talked about yesterday, that there is consequences to free will that God knew very well that were going to happen in His people.
Right.
If He knew that we were going to have trouble with free will, then He actually was going to have grace on free will.
Right.
So when we catch ourselves thinking that we could be just like God, it's like we're in a tough situation and we're trying to figure out how to move forward, and we decide on something and it doesn't work out, and we think, well, we did the godly thing, why didn't it work out?
Right.
It's because we're the ones that generated that thought, not Him. We wouldn't have been able to generate that thought without Him if He hadn't given us free will. So free will is foundational to understanding God.
Right.
Because in the end, we couldn't freely choose him to be the king if we weren't given this gift.
Right.
But this is the reason that we're living this life right now, so that we learn strategies on how to conform to his will. How do we understand what his will is different from what we want? This is the meaning of life. I've said it before, and we Christians are the only one that can answer the question of the meaning of life, and it is to come to the conclusion that Jesus is the only one worthy to reign.
Right.
For the life of me, that is the base code of the relationship with God.
Right. That's good. Thank you. I'm going to take what you said and try to mold it into some thoughts here that I have on this. The people of God were not to make an image of God, because God is bigger than any image that we can make. So he transcends our images. We are to worship God through language and through experience. And so that's actually how we see God. We see God through language, what we say about him, or what is said about him, or what he says about himself, and obviously through experience. What can be deceptive for us, me, is that I turn that language about God into my own thoughts, and I begin to worship my own thoughts as accurate, rather than let God meet me and define for me really who he is. Now, I don't know if that makes sense or not.
It does. I mean, my analogy, what you just said, would be, if I can't see the miracles that are the small ones that surround me every day, that would include not looking in the rearview mirror when I'm changing lanes and nobody hits me.
Right.
Basically, he did that. If I don't see the small miracles that happen every single day, how am I going to believe for the big one that he's coming back to get me?
Yeah, right.
So the funny thing is that it all interacts on the smallest point with one another, as long as he's in the conversation. Even if we, I've had plenty of times where I thought I heard what God said,
right,
and did
right.
it, and it wasn't exactly what he meant,
Yeah.
because I thought that if I walked through that door, that I would know what to do on the other side of that door, because all he told me to do was walk through the door, and I know that he leaves space to be able to end a goal with the creativity that he gave me.
Yeah.
But sometimes that creativity gets way ahead of what God really had intended. And really, that's, for me, I just keep coming back to this. Am I the guy that is like Satan that is saying that I can ascend and take his throne?
Right. And we never say it out loud. We just live it.
Yes.
So we don't say, well, I'm now going to ascend God's throne. But every time I follow my own reasoning, my own thinking, my own plans, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And we got to quit on that, because I'm getting convicted. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow. You have a great day. Rudy, thank you so much.